This EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix Betting Picks 2025 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Rhythm is giving away a $250 future and throwing a March Madness party. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/party for all of the details.
Drivers, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time to talk about yet another thrilling and exciting, potentially, NASCAR Cup race here in the NASCAR schedule. Cody, I know we already have the chat blowing up already. King talking about time for some racing, boys. Team 54, hashtag Team 54. We'll talk about that in a second. Ash checking in from across the pond. Evening, lads. Tyler Reddick, top 5 for me this weekend. Throwing Bowman over Kyle Busch head to head. Want to say hello to Corey real quick. Finally getting to catch an episode since Daytona and wants to know, Cody, how about that Briscoe poll? He started his season up 1.1K. Beautiful. Good stuff.
It's a good way to start the year off, Rob.
Yeah, it's a great way. And then Walter.
I mean, they cheated to get it done, but the bet still counts, so it's fine.
I mean, listen, that's, also what's up, Walter? But yeah, Cody, Atlanta is in the books. The final, super speedway of the first 2 races of the season done. Thank God. But we go speedway. And then of course, road course, because what naturally follows a speedway, but a road course. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an exciting race. Obviously there's going to be a lot happening, but yeah, I mean, Atlanta was something, wasn't it?
Atlanta was something, Rod. It was a great weekend of racing. This is a good time to plug. Hopefully you listen to our truck and Xfinity picks in addition to the Cup picks. Cup picks didn't go so well. Trucks was really good to us. Xfinity was pretty good too. Of course, you, Mr. Chalk Villagomez over there, hit both of the winners on Saturday. So
But what did I say? What I said sometimes, as great as it is to be flashy and to give up all of the ones that we love to give up every once in a while, sometimes you just can't ignore the behemoth. If there's an elephant sitting on your chest, you're not going to say it's a squirrel.
And
right?
Both of those guys put on master classes on Saturday. I mean, it was absolutely impressive what we saw. It was so impressive, it drove Ryan Blaney down to 3-1 on Sunday. Hopefully none of you all bet that, and we've taught you better than that. But the real betting begins this week, Rod. If you've, struggled through these first 2 weeks, that's super speedway betting. It's unpredictable. It's crazy. Now we get into the more predictable things. It's still betting, of course, but it's easier to figure out who's going to be good, who's not going to be good, and where things should be. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun week. Jumping into a road course this early is definitely different. We've not had that this early on the schedule, maybe ever, probably. So yeah, definitely throwing us for a little bit of a loop, but I'm excited.
Yeah, left and right turns this time, obviously, and a lot of fun to be had. Speaking of fun to be had, wearing SGPN merch or drinking from it every morning or having a great time with it is fantastic. And you should gear up for not just March Madness, but listen, as we've talked about before, we have a couple of thoughts on how this race ended. Those race officials or terrorist shirts should be flying off the shelf right about now. You can get in on that as well with buying the promo or the shirt rather with the promo code MADNESS, MADNES. You get 20% off in the SGPN store. Go load up on those Race Official to Terrorist shirts because you definitely want to make sure you get there and now before the promo code is completely done. So, yep, promo code MADNESS. Go get yourself one of those Race Officials or Terrorist shirts. We'll get to that in a second. Ryan Wood, third season with you guys, first time watching. Let's go 45. James rather, talking about McDowell supremacy. Say hello to Jessica real quick. And then John saying, got to drop off something on Caesars, not Cody Zeeb, talking about Connor Zilich.
Yes, I do like the CZ, right? We got a CZ in this race, Rod, which we, boy, got some thoughts on that for sure. But yeah, James forgot that McDowell left Front Row Motorsports, but that's okay. We'll see how that expired thing goes for him.
It hasn't gone so well so far.
Well, Rod, he's the only driver through 2 weeks that did not get involved in an accident.
Okay, but I mean,
that was really the only good thing that happened to him. So I was trying to find something.
I was like, I'm sorry, I'm waiting.
He got 6 lucky dogs in a row last week.
Yes,
that's what more. How much more luck could you possibly have, other than not going 6 laps down? But don't worry
so
about
beautiful. All right, speaking of Atlanta, we got a couple of thoughts. We're not going to recap the whole thing. We're not going to go over all of our bets, which would be fantastic. But there was a small level of controversy once more, because what's a NASCAR race without us trying to argue about something at the end of that race? I'm sure that's where we're going with this, right, Cody?
Yeah, well, so I guess the main thing I wanted to talk about here is we got to finish these races under green flag. It's been brought up. A couple of drivers have brought it up. It's been brought up in the media. We got to figure it out, right? We can't race back to the flag. I get it. NASCAR on Saturday, they let the Xfinity Series race all the way back. Sunday, then they told them, we're not going to let them race back. So as far as NASCAR throwing the caution when they did, they were consistent with what they said, which they ruined a great finish, yes, but you got to give them credit for doing what they said they were going to do. So there's that. I would have loved it. That finish was setting up to be epic. Hocevar was 3 wide. Good chance he was going to bounce off both of those guys. Maybe somebody else would have won the race. Who knows? But we have to end these under green flag. So there needs to be, I don't know. I don't exactly know how you do it. Either once they're in 3 and 4, we'll let it run to the flag. I mean, at that point, nobody's lifting anyways, right? So you let it run till the leader hits the line, and then you throw the caution maybe. Or we just keep re-racking it and try, and these guys are going to fucking figure it out. You got to get to the checkered flag before you start wrecking each other. But these races, we got to stop having these epic endings. I mean, they had a whole entire hour-long special on FS1 that's been running the last 2 weeks about they brought in the 3 drivers from the Atlanta finish last year. We could have had that again, been running that on the highlight reel. I don't know if anybody saw, there was a highlight reel out there, and it had like the Ricky Craven race, the Craven Busch Darlington race, and it had Larson and Buescher last year, and it had John Edwards at Kansas, and they all like coming into turn 4, just yellow flag, races over, and like cuts off these great finishes we've had throughout history. We cannot have that. We've got to get these races to end under the green flag.
And so obviously I'm not the brilliant mind that can come up with the solution overnight or even probably over the next 10 years is what the things to solve that, because once you solve one problem, then another one pops up and so on and so forth. But I will say this, I will say that it did seem inconsistent, right? As you watched on Saturday, you were like, man, I can't believe they let them run to the end. And then on Sunday, when the caution comes out, you think, well, they're going to let them. And I know they said that, right? They said, no, we're not going to let you run to the end. But at the same time, it's like, man, I wish they wouldn't have said that, because then they could have let it run to the end, and then we could have seen a fantastic finish. Because, look, and maybe Cody, maybe what this does ultimately, and I was thinking this while you were laying out your point, maybe this gets them, because you said, well, they got to figure it out. Well, maybe this makes them not lean on the fact that, oh, they're going to throw the caution, or I think they're going to throw the caution. Just know they're not, and so now you got to come up with a solution on your own and not let this bail you out. Does it get dangerous at some points to let some of these guys roll through and try to get to the finish? Yeah, but how much more dangerous is it for them to know that a caution is going to get thrown if they get a little bit squirrely at the end? if they know now going into it that, oh, a caution is going to bail me out if something happens, then I can take this chance. Whereas if you go into it thinking, I'm not getting bailed out, I can't push this advantage any farther than I am right now.
Yeah, they've got to do something. I think that's to the point we're at. Hopefully before, we should be implementing as soon as possible, but hopefully before Talladega. I think we got like 8 weeks before we get there. Let's do something. We've got to get these races to finish. Nobody that pays, buys a ticket, goes there, that spends all day watching on TV. That's not how we want to see races finish. And it's got to stop. We've had way too many of them lately. And if we got to do another overtime, fine, let's do another overtime. I don't know. They've got to figure something out, but we got to have these races end on a green, because for what a great race the entire day was. I mean, New Atlanta is beautiful. It races great. The racing was good. We had comers and goers. Tires seem to matter a lot. I think we're going to come back to that when we get to this race. Hot July. Can't wait to talk about that. But yeah, we got to figure something out, I think is the thing. And it seems like enough drivers are saying stuff and enough people are bringing it up now. I mean, Carson Hocevar could have just got his first career win. He could be in the playoffs, not locked in, Rod, as we know, but in the playoffs for now. And we don't get those things. Or Larson could have got his first super speedway win, Rod.
I was just about to say that too.
We almost had it, and they took it away from him, Rod.
You want to talk about a guy that
figure it out.
I was gonna say, you want to talk about a guy that wanted to race to the end. Kyle Larson, man, for the first time in forever. I mean, and I said it too in the I don't know if anybody reads the show notes or anybody ever pays attention to what it is. I actually had said, will Kyle Larson figure it out and finish, get a win at a super speedway configuration? And boy, I was thinking to myself, this is it. This is the time. I actually called it, not on the show, obviously, but in the show notes. I was like, is this going to be the time? And sure enough, no. Nope.
And while we're on that subject, because some people come after me, right? Which is fine. You were at this race. He's 3 for 49 on super speedways, finished inside the top 5. So let's not overreact. He's still great. He's wonderful. Rod, I'm going to be talking a lot about Larson in a good way today. So stay tuned. If you're a Larson fan, you're going to like it. But when we get to Talladega, it's coming back up. We're going to bet against him again. We're going to get better matchups because he just finished good at Atlanta. I can't wait because he was inches away from 3 different wrecks. He got lucky and good, right? He's a great driver. I would love to see him win. Again, I'm not against the guy, but it's worked out. If you've followed the show or made these bets at any point, it's paid off so many times more than it hasn't. You don't win them all. You lost this time. We're going to reload and do it again at Talladega and hopefully win again. So like we have. I mean, do we need to go back and count how many times we've been doing this? Probably not, but it's been a lot and it's worked out most of the time.
There's a reason why managers will go to the bullpen and pull out a lefty pitcher if a batter struggles against lefties. It's because statistically speaking, they don't do well against it. And so if they come out, they get a hit, they tip their cap, but they'll bring that lefty right back out again in the next at bat.
Yeah, I mean, if a guy's hitting 6%, are you going to walk him now because you're afraid because he hit the ball last time? Probably not, right? And he's 6% for finishing inside the top 5 at super speedways. So until he starts hitting some more home runs off me, I'm going to keep throwing fastballs right down the middle, Rod.
I just pepper him with fastballs for sure. Laura saying, hi, Laura. Boy, you guys are in the chatter hopping today. I love it. Keep it going. Keep it going.
And we're, a lot of this stuff you guys are talking about, we're about to bring up throughout the show. Yeah, so don't worry. We see your comments. Keep it going. Love the conversation between the listeners as well. That is always great. I'm excited, Rod.
I am totally excited, Cody, because we get to talk about the Circuit of the Americas and we get to talk about all of our fun road racing friends that we talk about every road race and then put them back away when there's no road race. So we'll do all of that, Cody. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Edge Boost. SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at sports books, DFS site, sweepstakes site, that fancy restaurant that won't recognize whatever card you've got. You can just sneak by with Edge Boost. Okay, I'm sure a fancy restaurant doesn't care what kind of card you have, but you'd look even fancier with an Edge Boost card or that racetrack or that casino. Plus, you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards for using Edge Boost card. And your money is safe as the card is FDIC insured. And the best part, no credit check. And it is completely free. Sign up today. Use the promo code SGPN so you can get better cashback rewards and instant Tier 2 status. That's right. We pull back the velvet rope for you and let you into the VIP section, or at least the Tier 2 section. You gotta pull a couple more to get to the actual VIP. But listen, you're gonna get some bottles, you're gonna get some fun, and you're gonna have a lot of fun using this Tier 2 reward status. So, I'll give you my Edge Boost play of the day later on in the show. EdgeBoost.bet, promo code SGPN. EdgeBoost.bet, promo code SGPN. Maybe you can use it at a site like MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet every sport, plus props for every game in the live dealer casino. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. There's easy deposit, lightning fast payout using crypto. You can head over right now to MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN, or your promo code, Rod, read the parentheticals. That's fantastic. For a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's MyBookie.ag, promo code, yes, SGPN. That is our promo code. Welcome to my first day of broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Rod Villagomez, the rookie, reading parentheticals in an ad read. Gotta love that.
Well, it happens, Rod. We're all used to it by now.
Oh my God. All right. Anyways, so as I said before, we are at the Circuit of the Americas for this EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix. We are set for. Okay, Rod.
This is while you're finding how many laps, Rod. This is a new course that NASCAR is running, or new course, I guess. It's the same COTA track, but they essentially cut out a ton of the track. So it is a shorter. It's going to be 2.3 miles now. They call it the national course. Still 20 turns and 133 feet in elevation change, which is a ton actually. But yeah, they've shortened it from, so it was 3.41 miles before 20 turns. Now it's going to be 2.3, and then they have extended the laps. I think it was just 65 laps last year. Is it 90 some?
68 last year.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it's 90 some this year, which you'll have here in a second. But so it is a different course. A lot the same. Really kind of took out 2 passing zones, which we'll see how that works. But a lot more laps added. It's going to make the caution laps at this track have been brutal. And so that's going to help this out a lot. I still think NASCAR should adopt more of an IndyCar / F1 type of caution for road courses. But that's another conversation for another day, Rod. So yeah, it is a smaller configuration, smaller track. That being said, we're just, we don't obviously have really any stats on this. There is one key thing about one of the guys who's raced here, which I'm going to talk about in a bit on this particular course. But yeah, otherwise we're just pretty much leaning on the previous stats. But just be noted that the course is shorter and different this year.
Yep, we are set for 95 laps for 228 laps now for this particular race. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more laps added. I mean, that's what, about 20 full laps, right? It's going to be crazy because we haven't seen that many laps around this track, and it's crazy. Yeah. 2.35.
I think the mileage comes out pretty close to the same, but obviously more laps. It's just going to race differently, I guess.
Well, 228 is what it is now. 231 is what it was before, with 68 laps around the 3.41 mile paved track.
Shorter mileage too, I guess.
That is true.
There is 37 cars on the entry list this week, Rod. So you've got your 36 every week, guys. Those are going to be the normal guys you're going to normally see. And one addition, Connor Zilich. All praise to CZ, Rod. He is going to make his debut in the Trackhouse Racing number 87, the Red Bull car. Connor Zilich, if you've not listened to the Xfinity stuff we've done, Connor Zilich is the next coming. He's a JRM driver in Xfinity Series this year. He's going to be replacing Daniel Suarez in the 99 car within the next season or two. I would bet a lot of money on that. He is going to be, we're going to be talking about him and Larson and Reddick and Bell for years to come. Zilich is that guy. He's only 18 years old, Rod. This is his Cup Series debut. So we're going to talk more about that here in a bit as well, because I've got some thoughts on that. But this is definitely a dude that is going to be the dude in the future. So a name you're going to want to get familiar with.
trumpet players will be playing the fanfares for him as he comes in for sure. I mean, look, we talked about him a lot on the last couple of years over the truck season. Well, maybe not a couple of years, but I think last season in general with trucks and Xfinity. And I mean, he's already proven the Xfinity Series that he's not afraid to be that guy. And I know I backed the wrong JRM car in Xfinity 2 weeks ago, but last week I kind of made up for it. But Zilich was still right there until he got taken out. I mean, he was mixing it up with the leaders, and I just don't think that he's that intimidated by the moment, right? So I think when he comes in this week, he may not be, and I'll talk about him too later on. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch him play out.
Yeah. All right, Rod, we ready to get into the bets?
I'm ready to get into the bets, Cody. Let's start giving out some of our picks for this race.
Let's do that. So let's talk some more about Connor Zilich, friends. And Leon's Automotive checking in, saying, blew his mind that he's listed as the second favorite in some books. Connor Zilich, that is. He is, Rod. Hopefully you're in our Discord, sg.pn/Discord. Because when MGM dropped the odds on Sunday evening, he was 100-1 to win this race. I know a couple of guys in the Discord did get that. If you did get that, great. I love the number for you. As the second favorite, do not touch that. Look, Rod, this guy is good. He's the next coming. I'm all over him. I've got a bet on him to win the championship in Xfinity in his rookie season. I took his over wins. I think he's going to be great. We saw him last year come into the Xfinity Series, win his first career start, blow the field away, look great. He looked good in his first Truck Series start. Road courses, by the way, all similar to Ty Gibbs, another guy that I love. But rookies don't win in the Cup Series, especially not right away. I don't care how good he is. I don't care how good his equipment is. But Rod, SVG won in his first start in a Trackhouse car. You're right. He did. SVG also had 80-some wins to his name in extremely similar cars on a street circuit, which nobody else had driven on before. A lot more advantages that he had. It's not going to be Zilich's week. If you got him at 100-1, great. I think you had to have had that. And if I was able to bet it, I would have. But, not able to get on that in this state at the time. So that being said, Rod, I am going with a fade of Connor Zilich to start off the betting card this week. I'm going to take Kyle Larson over him, -130 over on Caesars. And SVG is listed over him at -145 on DraftKings. That was like -125 when it opened. It's gone up to -145, but I don't care. I am going to take it. Look, love this kid. And we're going to be talking about him a lot. Xfinity Series, we're going to be talking about him tomorrow. Xfinity all by itself this week, Rod. So a full Xfinity Series show. Come back and tune in. We're going to be singing this guy's praises all year, singing him for the future. But this is his first career Cup Series start, and he's going to be fine. I think he's going to have a great race. I think he could be a top 10 car, but you're putting him against the top tier of the top tier in Kyle Larson, in Shane Van Gisbergen. He's not ready for that yet in this car, in the Cup Series. So I love both of these guys over him. And obviously no stats to compare because Zilich has very limited starts even in the Xfinity Series, although been very impressive there. In the trucks, Larson, 2 road course wins last season. He was running 5th here last year before he ended up getting spun and finished a little worse than that in 17th place. SVG, I mean, do we need to even give an explanation, right? I'm going to talk more about him later too, but really, really elite road course racer. One of the best in the same equipment, right? SVG last year, colleague equipment, we saw some gaps in it, right? But he's in Trackhouse this year. So, yeah, I think this is very simple. Love the kid. Going to bet on him a lot in the future. But I think you got to, no hardcore fade him this week. If he's matched up against Eric Jones or something, I wouldn't bet that. But getting the top 2 guys in the sport, really on road courses at this point in time, arguably, give me Larson over him. Give me SVG over him. Not afraid to pay the juice this week on matchups too. Daytona, Atlanta. It's tough to really pay the juice. You only do it if you fade Larson, which worked one of the weeks at least. But now you don't have to worry about paying the juice because you only pay the juice if you lose. And again, we're at much more predictable track where, things can still go wrong, but for the most part, you kind of know what's going to go. So love Zilich, but the amount of love and steam he is getting right now, not yet deserved.
I 1,000% agree with you on this one. And really, again, to be with Larson and with SVG, like those matchups just don't seem fair. And I know, and I understand, and I get he's in the same equipment as SVG, and I get all of that stuff, right? I get what's going on here. I know that we're all excited about this, but I also know that it's not realistic to come out and think that a guy with no Cup Series starts is going to beat one of the best road course racers in the entire generation and Kyle Larson. I mean, the one of the best road course and SVG. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I knew what I was getting at there. But no, I agree with you on that one. He's going to be good. We're going to talk about him for a while. It's just not going to happen, I think, this year. And look, I'll talk about it in a little bit as far as where I think the spec and where I'll take a chance on him being good.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and then when we get to your bet, the number makes it make sense. And again, that's like if I could have bet on him at 100-1 to win this race, I absolutely would. Is he going to win this race? No, he's not. Rookies don't come in and win their first career start. SVG thing was a big outlier. Zilich is not going to win this race. But at 100-1, I absolutely would have placed a bet on him because you take shots like that because, sure, it could happen. It just happened with SVG. But, yeah, I think that, again, love the kid. I think he's going to do fine. I think we're going to be impressed. I think he's going to be a storyline throughout the day. But I don't think he's going to be mixing it up with two guys that I think are going to be battling for the win.
I agree. Somebody that is going to be mixing it up right from the get-go, that is William Byron. I've said his name so many times because it's the beginning of the season, and that's when we talk about William Byron. Catch me again in like May and June. I'm not going to be talking about William Byron, but we're at February right now. In the beginning of March, I'm going to be talking about William Byron, but this time I'm actually going to be talking about William Byron to win the pole. He's at plus 750 to win the pole. Cody, we have been on this COTA 4 times. In this road course race, 4 times in the NASCAR Cup Series. William Byron has been on the pole of 2 of those, and it was the last 2 of those that he was on the pole. And in fact, he has 3 starts inside of the top 5 on this track. He's got a 5th place start in 2021, a 24th place start in 2022. That's the only time in which he did not start in the top 5, but the last 2 races have been on the pole. And the only reason I'm really bringing this up is that if you're giving me a guy that's won the last 2 polls at somewhere close to 8-1, I'm snatching that up because chances are, can he do it again? It's tough. I get it. I understand. But we also know this 24 car has been fast, right? I mean, this 24 car was in the mix to win the Daytona. He won the Daytona 500. Was in the mix to win last week in Atlanta before getting kind of shuffled around and bounced out. But I just know that William Byron's fast at the beginning of the season. And what better way to come back out and to put Atlanta behind you than to finish on the pole, or the start on the pole rather, from a race that you've done that already a couple of times. And not just that he has started on the pole, but he's led 28 laps in the first race of the that he had the pole in 2023, and then 42 the next lap. So he stays out front, right? He qualifies out front and he stays out front. If this was just like, nah, okay, he qualified on the pole and led 2 laps because that's the way it works, right? Then I'd be like, okay, maybe not. But he's fast enough to be on the pole and stay on the pole. And you remember, this race was only 68 laps back a couple of seasons ago. So he led almost half of those laps in the 2024 race. I don't know that anybody really remembers that because it doesn't feel like William Byron would be the one to lead that many laps or to start from the pole. So, yeah, like I said, if you're giving me the guy that's done this the last 2 times at plus 750, I'm absolutely jumping on that. I don't know that it'll happen 3 times in a row, but I love that you're almost getting 8-1 for it to maybe happen again.
Yeah, again, this is just it's happened twice in a row. Why not run it back and try to get it again? I have no argument with this. I took a peek. Boy, I sure had qualifying odds up early this week, which interesting. Hopefully that continues going forward. Even some qualifying bets are like props. You could get Chevy to win at minus 135, which is interesting. And then even top 10 Chevy or Toyotas in qualifying, which is an interesting market as well. But yeah, when you put this in the doc, I was like, that is the way to go looking back at it. 2 in a row and you're getting them at plus 750 when some guys are as short as 3-1. I like it.
Yeah, I was almost going to just blanket it and say Chevy at minus 135, but I really want to call my shot on this one because at 135, that's fine. But boy, you could have a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think you could bet both because you can double up if he gets it done, but you also then get SVG and Larson and Elliott and a handful of other guys that are really good in, Chastain's, the Suarez, a bunch of guys that are really good on this track in Chevy as well.
Yep, indeed. All right. We are going to come back with more of our bets, but I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you about our friends at Rhythm. Rhythm is throwing an epic March Madness party, and you are invited. All Rhythm users are invited to a first 4 watch party Wednesday, March the 19th at the awesome Stadium Swim at Circa Las Vegas. You want free drinks? You get them. Plus, you get to hang out with the guys from the Sports Gambling Podcast and the college experience. When is that? March 19th? Maybe the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. I may swim on out there and take a shot at hanging out with the boys on the 19th. It'll be my belated birthday present. And it gets better. Not just you get to maybe meet me, but Rhythm is also giving away a $250 March Madness future for one random lucky Rhythm user. Even if you can't make the party, you can still win the future bet. Just sign up for your 7-day free trial today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Come by and use Rhythm to help you fill out your bracket and make some bets while you are there. Free party plus a chance at $250 future bet. Sign me up. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/party for details. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/party for details. NBA, NHL, college basketball, whatever sport you can cash in big with Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Man, we did very well on our underdog picks from the Atlanta. There was a lot of worse thens on that one. And guess what? Most of them all panned out. So we're going to have a bunch more for you this coming week. So make sure you check us out on the Underdog and the Fantasy program this week. And we'll give you more of our favorites. In the meantime, sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. All right, and there we are. Yeah, that was a lot of fun watching. I mean, I wasn't necessarily worried about some of them, but boy, when Busher went out on his thing, I was like, well, there goes a worse than. And then watching all these people kind of fall out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the clock, Rod, in Underdog. They've already got their season-long best ball going on, and I've been entering myself into the slow drafts and getting that done. So, Young Money Bets bringing up that Zilich is plus 200 for the Xfinity Series race. Look, if you usually only listen to the Cup Series episode every week, you should listen to Xfinity anyways because it's a lot of fun, and really, we do a pretty good job over there. But we're going to have tomorrow Xfinity Series episode. It'll be standalone this week. There's no truck, so a full slate of Xfinity Series bets for you. But that race is absolutely loaded. Zilich is going to be in it. Obviously, he's a weekly guy. SVG is in a JRM car. I think Ross might be running this one in a JRM car. It is the lineup for. There's 2 Austin Hills in the Xfinity race, Rod. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah, it's going to be loaded. And I'm very excited to talk about that tomorrow, rather. So make sure you come back for that. But back to today, Rob. A couple of top 10 bets that I like. Chris Buescher, top 10, plus 130. If I could only place one bet this week, and I probably should have just lumped this in. Well, I did lump it in with the rest of the bets later. I guess I put it on here twice. Let's circle back to that, Rod. We're gonna skip over that one and come back. Spoiler alert: there's some more Chris Buescher talk in a little bit. So, another top 10 that I like this week. Give me Zane Smith, 6-1, Rod. Zane Smith, a guy that was sneaky for us with top 10 bets at the end of the season last year. We cashed quite a few times on him. And he's really gotten better at the road courses throughout his short career, right? Just a rookie. So he made a couple of starts prior to that, to his first season. But last year we had 4 road course races. I don't count street courses. I didn't even look. I don't know where he finished Chicago. Don't care. It's not a road course. We had 4 road course races. He finished top 19 in all 4 of them. That's not top 10. I get it, but at 6-1, you're getting a big number for a guy that consistently was fairly close to the top 10. If you're inside the top 19, you're not too far outside of the top 10. So I like that. He was 5th place at Watkins Glen last season. Really good run by him that day. Then he had finished as a 19th at the Roval and Coda. And then 16th at Sonoma as well. Sonoma, I think that this new circuit, I guess, that we're running at Coda this week, Sonoma race is really similar to. So if guys do pretty good at Sonoma, I think that there's a lot of translation there. So 16th place at Sonoma, pretty good run for him there. At 6-1, I think he get inside the top 10 this week. So Zane Smith could be a little bit of a surprise top 10 this week, Rod, at 6-1.
I mean, it's Zane Smith. You could be on the right side of Zane or you could be on the wrong side of Zane. But yeah, to me, he's been impressive enough in the last couple of weeks to show us that he's comfortable, at least in his new ride. I know they've been both super speedways, but at the same time, you could have been riding in the back the whole time, and he's actually been mixing it up here and there. So, okay, Zane Smith, top 10. There's worse things can happen, but like it. All right.
And that's one too that, I always like to get a longer shot top 10 in there. You got to sort of find, there's plenty of guys at lower odds that you could make cases for, but you can only have so many. And I've got a couple of top 10s too coming up. But as far as a long shot guy, I wanted like a Joey Logano. I thought I had actually in the dock at first, but God, the odds just aren't there. Yeah, you can definitely get it done, but for the odds you're getting, for the little bit we've seen from Zane with, a small sample size, I really like it.
Indeed. All right. I'm going to take a head-to-head matchup as my next bet, and I'm going to take Chase Elliott. Breaks my heart to have to do it, over AJ Allmendinger at -120. He is my spirit driver. I do love me some AJ Allmendinger, but you also cannot ignore the fact that this has not necessarily been his favorite track of all times. He does have two top 10 finishes, rather, one top 5 and then a 6th place finish. So a 5th place finish in 2021, a 6th place finish in 2024. But between that, 33rd, 34th, as good as AJ Allmendinger has always been on road course races, this track in particular, I think, has perplexed him. And
the one rebuttal to that, one of those 30 place finishes was the 3 wide, him, Chastain, and Bowman going for the win. Sure, he finished 30 something that day, but he was about to win.
And while I appreciate that, again, that he put himself in that position. If he would not have put himself in that position, who knows, right? That's the same driver that can still continue to put. And then, again, yeah, he almost won it, but guess what? At the end of the day, the stat sheet says he did not, and he finished in that 30th place. So as for Chase Elliott, he's been out of here 3 of the last 4 because he missed that one when he was injured, but he won this race in 2021, a 4th place finish in 2022, and his worst finish in 2024 was that 16th place finish from last year. I mean, Elliott, we used to consider him one of the elite road course racers, but we probably still should give him that elite road course racing crown as well. So if we're talking about Chase Elliott and we're talking about AJ Allmendinger, I mean, as much as I want to see AJ Allmendinger win this race, we have not seen it over the last season and a half from him as far as coming back down to the Cup Series and racing on these road course races, because I don't think it was Shane Van Gisbergen last year that deflated it from him being in colleague equipment as well. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe it was the going down to the Xfinity Series and the hit that took to the Pride, but he's back up in the Cup. Give him a little bit, another couple of weeks to acclimate himself again into that 16 car. And I think by the middle of the season, when we see our next road course race on the schedule, maybe I'll start talking about AJ Allmendinger again. But in the meantime, I mean, Chase Elliott, he's going to be mixing it up in the top 5. I think AJ will be in the top 10 conversation, just maybe not in the top 5 conversation, where I think Elliott will be at the end of the day. So give me Elliott over AJ Allmendinger.
Speaking of the former, we'll go with the former king of road courses, Chase Elliott, Rod. I think he's maybe been dethroned at this point, but still really good at them. And I'm going to take him top 5 plus 180 over on Bet365. He is still a very good road course guy. Prior to the next gen car, just fucking dominated. He was the guy. It was either him or Martin Truex Jr. every single road course. Boy, it's crazy to think back on those days. No longer the case, but Chase Elliott's still been good. 4th place finish here in 2022. Really good run that week. He did not race here in 23. That was the Jordan, can't remember his name, but raced for him. Elliott was out at that time with his broken leg. 16th place here last year, kind of whatever. But Rod, Racing Insights shared the average finishes in the next gen car. Chase Elliott, 2nd place in the next gen car for average finish on road courses, 10.63. He's still been really solid on them, despite not previously dominated them, won them all the time. Not at that level anymore, but he's still been really, really solid. He was top 5 at 2 of the 4 road courses last year, both the Roval and Sonoma. Okay, I like that. More similar to this new layout, right? He's raced in 14 next-gen races. Again, missed. I think just Cota was the only one really with that broken leg, but he's been in 14 of them 7 times. So half the time he's been inside of the top 5 at the end of the day. 9 out of those 14, he's been in the top 10 at the end of the day. Extremely consistent. And we really saw this from Elliott all of last year, right? Very, very consistent. Didn't have the race winning speed most of the time, but very consistent, always in the mix. I think that's going to continue to be the case. If you scope it out even more, 33 road course starts in his career, 18 top 5 finishes. That's pretty impressive. And 7 wins. Now, again, none in the next gen car, so I will put that asterisk on there, but it's been really good. He's been solid in this car, even since the transition. And so I think obviously adding more to the schedule has brought up the level of competition and more guys have focused on it. You can definitely tell that. But Elliott, like most weeks, just consistently right there in the mix. This is his season. I think he's going to be the champion this year. I think that it's going to continue with really strong runs like he's going to have this week. So I do like his top 5 at plus 180. One of my other favorite bets on the week, Rod, is his teammate Alex Bowman to finish inside of the top 10, plus 120. I would suggest you get on this earlier rather than later. I don't think plus 120 will stick around. It's over on Bet365, the only ones with top 10s up, which they just put up 20 minutes before we started recording. Thanks to them for that. But he's got the best average finish here, Rod, over the last 3 years. A 4th, a 3rd, and a 2nd place. Really good finishes. Now, I don't count Chicago as a road course, but he did win the Chicago race last year. There's obviously some characteristics that can cross over. So that's a nice talking point as well. I like that. 4 top 8 finishes in the last 9 road courses. Quietly, a pretty solid road course guy. 10 top 15s in 14 next-gen road course races. 5 of those being top 5 finishes. So I like Bowman to finish inside the top 10. And Rod, I know that you like Bowman as well, and stole some more bets that I was going to look at for him.
Well, yes, and you definitely just laid out the case for everything that I was going to say when it came to Bowman. Yeah, I got to the dock first, thank you very much, and I already had Bowman in the top 5. I love the top 5 number at plus 280. That's an unbelievable number for a guy who has exactly the same credentials that Cody just talked about. I mean, best average finish at this track. I don't think anybody, if you polled 10 people, I don't know that maybe one of them would say that Alex Bowman is the best finisher on this track. Average finish of third. He's got 3 races, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, like Cody said. If you look actually overall, as far as the speed rankings too, our friends over at iFantasy Race, Alex Bowman ranks 5th as far as that. And of course, 1st in terms of average finish. Alex Bowman 4th in the Coda Next Gen top 10 driver via driver rating. And then average running position. He's 1st on that list as well. So, I mean, Alex Bowman is going to be a fast car all day long. Somebody you probably didn't even think that you were going to be thinking about in this particular race. So I love his top 5 number at plus 280. I love his top 10 number like you did at plus 120. But I can't believe, and I was looking at it, and I wasn't going to put it officially on my doc, but I decided to anyways. His top 3 number at plus 650. I mean, that's a huge number for a guy whose average running position is, wait for it, 3rd, right? So, or his average finishing position is 3rd. So if you're averaging 3rd, I know it's only been 4 races, but if you're averaging that and your number is at plus 650, it's almost like the pole situation for William Byron. Like if you're doing it time and time again, plus 650, yes, please. I'll sign up for that one all day long. So Alex Bowman, top 5. I love that at plus 280. And then top 3 at plus 650.
Yeah, I like it. We, before the season, we were going through our one and done picks. I'm pretty sure as the show pick, we used Alex Bowman this week because he has really loved this track. He's been really good here. I mentioned that 3-wide finish, race to the finish with Chastain when we hit him 40-1 and Allmendinger. And Bowman was the other guy in that picture that almost won the race that day, and looked really good. He just loves this road course for whatever reason, and you can already count on Alex Bowman to just, much like Chase Elliott, like we just talked about, be consistent and be there. He's not always the fastest guy. Rarely is the fastest guy, really, but he's consistent and he's good. So, a lot of Bowman love this week, and I think that it's warranted.
Yep. I mean, when you wake up in the morning, you don't go, you know what? I'm going to give a lot of love to Alex Bowman, but here we are. This is the day for it. So, all right, Cody, where are we going next?
Yeah. Next up for me, let's continue on the Bowman train. I'm going to put Bowman with Chris Buescher for a top 10 finish, Rod. So Caesars, we were talking about this earlier before the show. Caesars doesn't offer top 10s anymore, apparently, just singularly, at least early in the week. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if they got tired of us hitting them or what's going on. So they have these pre-built top 10s. They're not always the greatest things ever, but browsing through them, I did like this one. You can get Alex Bowman and Chris Buescher, and I've got a lot more thoughts on Chris Buescher in a minute. So I'll keep teasing him for a minute. I'm going to talk about him more. But we just talked about all the love with Alex Bowman. You put these two guys together, you can get them at plus 360 to both finish inside of the top 10. So I do really, really like that bet. And then, Rod, a little bit of a flyer here. I'm going to take Todd Gilliland to be the top finishing Ford, 16-1. I think that this is a bit of a top Ford, a bit of an interesting market because as strong as Ford has been the last 2 weeks on the super speedways, which was very well expected, they don't have a ton of road course guys that they are really can boast of, right? So if you look through the Fords, and I was pulling up the odds here for top Ford, Chris Buescher is at the top, right? I'm going to talk about him again in a minute. Cindric is second, and he's solid. Ryan Blaney is good. Joey Logano can certainly pop up as a long shot guy here. Cole Custer is the fifth guy listed for Ford, Rod. I don't know if I need to tell you anything else beyond that. They have, like Zane Smith, who I talked about earlier, he's farther down on the list, so definitely an interesting candidate too. Keselowski, not very good here. You don't have a ton of competition, and you don't really have, Toyota has got Reddick, and they've got Bell, and they've got Gibbs, all very good guys, and Chevy, right? It's Larson and SVG and Zilich and Elliott and all these guys, Byron, a bunch of guys. But Ford is a weak market, so I do like getting in on Gilliland to be the top finishing Ford at 16-1. And then as far as his stats go, 26th place last year, so not a great run, but the two previous seasons, 10th and 16th, so pretty solid finishes out of Gilliland. A 10th place really could take top Ford potentially, especially if a Buescher has an issue, a Blaney has an issue, and we don't have these really good Ford at the top. He's been top 16 in 3 of the last 6 road course races, so solid, good finishes from him there. So you like that. A 10th place at Sonoma last year. That's a good sign. Actually had a 4th place finish back at the Indy road course a couple of seasons ago. So give me Todd Gilliland to be the top finishing Ford at 16-1, in addition to the Bowman plus Buescher top 10 at plus 360.
I love it. Giving Gilly some love. That guy, I don't know. It may not be the last time we ever hear his name. He's actually been creeping up into the conversation a lot more than I think we probably expected him to this year. All right. I'm going to take a stab. I know that this race is a few laps longer now, but I also feel like that means that the drivers aren't going to be as aggressive. I don't want to say as aggressive, but I think it'll take a little bit of the urgency out of this race. And I think it may settle it down a little bit because with 68 laps, there's not a lot of time to move. I know the track was longer, but at the same time, whatever. But there's drivers to lead a lap in this particular race. And the number set at 7.5. I think I'm going to take the under on this one. And that's minus 115 for this particular one. If you look at the first 2 races of this configuration, it was an easy over. It was like 7, 8. It was 8 in 2021, and then another over again in 2022. But the last 2 races on this track have not gone over this 7.5 mark. So to me, I feel like I don't know if it's just me banking on the fact that now that this race is a little bit longer, that there's not the need to just say, I got to get this position. I got to get it now. I mean, obviously they always want to take what they take, and we're going to see the stages that are normally flipped like we do. Right. But at the same time, like, I don't think that we're going to get that many drivers to lead a lap, especially given the fact that, Jesus Christ, man, we've got some heavy hitters in this as well, and they will run away with this, a la SVG, a la Kyle Larson, a la William Byron. Like, if they get a hold of a top 3 start, we may not see a lead change for a very, very long time. Because again, like we said, William Byron led 42 laps in that race. That was a 68 lap race, and he led almost half of it. So, or more than half of it. So I think we're in for that same sort of situation this week. There's a lot more laps to lead, but I don't think 8 drivers are going to have the opportunity to lead a lap in this particular race. So give me under 7.5 drivers to lead a lap at minus 115.
Yeah, I don't mind this at all. I think there's going to be some stage flipping, as we generally see, right? So you're going to have somebody give up the lead, somebody else assume it. But outside of that, do we get a ton of passing for the lead? Probably going to be pretty follow the leader a lot of the time, right? Going to be enough passing in there, I think, to keep it exciting. But I do agree with you. I think I would take the under on this one as well.
Indeed. All right. Well, then it is time, Cody, for us to bring back. I know it's not a super speedway, but we
Doesn't
are
matter.
still ready for.
That's right, Rod. Welcome to Cody's Car Lift, my friends. This week, it is the Ford man himself from Prosper, Texas. Give me Christopher Buescher. Oh, I love Christopher Buescher this week, Rod. Top 10 plus 130. Top finishing Ford plus 200. Group C plus 310. This is over Zilich, Gibbs, and Dinger. Top 5 at plus 340. Win the race 25-1. Rod, those guys over at Racing Insights gave out the best average finish of the next gen road course car. Who do you think it is?
I'm going to go out and say Chris Buescher.
Wow, I don't know how you guessed that, but you are correct. 8.82 is his average finish. If I could only make one bet this week, it would be the Chris Buescher top 10. Plus 130 is a steal of a number. Look, we saw, Rod, Watkins Glen last year. Do you remember that race? Wheel to wheel, toe to toe, head to head with Shane Van Gisbergen, our Lord and Savior himself. And he beat him. He won the race. You're getting him 25-1 to win this race. That itself, a little bit insane. But yeah, I love riding this car lift all the way up. He has been really, really good. 8th place finish here the last 2 seasons, so consistent inside the top 10. You like that here. That Watkins Glen race for me last year really, really just puts it over the top. But we saw him at Sonoma a couple years ago be really strong again. Going to be more similar to this this style on Coda that we're going to run this year. I like that. As far as the group bet goes, plus 310 over Zilich, Gibbs, and Dinger. I don't think that that's necessarily an easy group by any means, but he is the least favorite. He's the underdog in that group at plus 310. I really like Gibbs this week. Sorry, King. I wanted to find a way to bet on him. I couldn't find a good way. But Zilich, we already kind of talked about. Dinger, you talked about. You just don't know what to expect. Just the fact that he's plus 310 in that group. And then the top Ford thing at 2-1. I read off the Fords to you earlier. We're going to cut back cover ourselves a little bit with getting the Gilliland in there at 16-1, but there's not a lot of Fords that he really has to beat to be the top finishing Ford. So especially in McDowell, we talked about him earlier, kind of brought him up. He's not in Ford anymore. He's with Chevy now. So that's another one of the better Ford guys that was kind of the favorite every week that isn't in this group anymore. So love Chris Buescher this week. Ride that car lift all the way to the top with him.
Indeed. Cody's Car Lift brought to you by somebody that wants to sponsor that segment. So please, if you want to sponsor
Leon's Automotive, come on, buddy. Step up. What are you doing here? Leon's Automotive Car Lift of the Week? I mean, come on.
All right. Nico jumping in. Hey, Nico, you have perfect timing. Late, need to go back to the start. Don't go back to start yet. Sure, there was an SVG somewhere in this episode. Well, guess what? There is now SVG. Here's the thing, guys. So Caesars has these pre-built team triples, and of all the team triples, I was waffling back and forth. I was like, do I really want one of these? A Hendrick triple would probably be fun, but then I came across this one, 20-1 for a team triple. Now this is an exacta type of, this is a, what do you call it when you box 3 horses? I don't know what it's called. Trifecta, right? Where you got to pick the show, place, and win. And this is kind of that same thing. It has to hit in this exact way for it to be 20-1. But it's got to be SVG to win, Ross in a top 5 car, and then Connor Zilich as top 10. So this all hinges on whether or not SVG ends up winning this one. And this is where I said earlier too, where I'm not going to sit here and trumpet that Zilich is going to be the strongest driver and should be the second fastest or the second most favorite in this particular race. But I will say that a top 10 finish for a guy that is the second favorite, I think you can kind of bank on. So as far as Zilich is concerned, I'm asking him to get in the top 10. That's all I want him to do. I don't care how it happens. He can, zoom past 6 million people on the last big major thing that they got at Coda and get there. I don't care, right? All I want is Connor Zilich to finish inside the top 10. That's fine. Now, when you start talking about Ross Chastain being a top 5 car, there has been 4 races, like we said, at Coda. Ross Chastain has been in the top 5 at the end of the day in 3 of those. He's won 1, finished 4th in 2 of those. And in fact, he wasn't that far away from a top 5 finish in 2024 either. He was in 7th place. He led 10 laps. in that race. Ross Chastain has got this COTA figured out. And now that it's a little bit shorter, maybe he's got it even more figured out. I don't know. Maybe he's going to bring his super speedway mentality into COTA and get it done. But like I said, if you've done this 3 of 4 times, I'm going to expect you to be able to do it again. So Ross Chastain, and also if you look at our friends over at iFantasy Race, he is second. Ross Chastain is in terms of the top 10 via driver rating in this one. I mean, he's a good, solid driver at this particular race. Ross Chastain is third in average finish, finishing fourth. Like I said, he's second in total speed rankings as terms of iFantasy Race as well. Ross Chastain's gonna go out and get you a top 5 finish. That's just something that he does, and he's gonna do it. Now, as for SVG winning, again, that's one of those things where you just gotta put your faith in the hands of one of the best road course drivers in the field right now and say, can you finally win when it's not Chicago, right? I mean, we documented his struggles. And of course, now he's in Trackhouse equipment. Now he's in supposedly better. He's in equipment that a guy consistently with less road course experience than him finishes inside of the top 5. We know Trackhouse is fast enough to do it. So it's just a matter of, can he hold on to it? And of course, Cody, we've seen him fighting for the win in other road courses at Watkins Glen, right? We saw that happen there too. So he can do it. Is this the time he does it? I'm not going to necessarily, the outright number on him, I didn't even look, honestly, Cody. I know he was one of the favorites, right?
It's 5-1.
5-1. So you get his 2 teammates inside of the top 10 with him at 20-1. If he wins, this is a much better proposition than if you just bet him outright.
Yeah, I think that this is a great way, and I'm really sad that I couldn't work Daniel Suarez out of this show because I wanted to bet on Suarez, couldn't find a great way. Maybe DFS show he'll come up there because he's kind of a sneaky guy, especially for fantasy this week. Betting it was just hard to work him in, but Trackhouse is going to be good this weekend. SVG, I've got more thoughts on him here in a second. Chastain's been really good here. We hit him at 40-1 a couple years ago to win. He's shown up well, and then Zilich again, like. Great kid. He's going to be good. If he shows up and gets a top 10 and SVG already wins and Ross happens to be top 5, the fact that you get this at 20-1, if this was 10-1 or something like that, no, but at 20-1, I think that it's worth the risk that you're taking for where it is. So I do like it at that number.
Well, thank you very much. We don't normally give those kind of boxes away, but I really did, like I said, find myself intrigued about this one. So, all right. Well then, Cody, I kind of blew one of your outrights, but where are we going with the
Rod, time to get to the outrights. Sorry, Chase Briscoe fans, not going to make my repairs with you this week. But everybody else who thinks I hate their driver, I will fix that this week. Give me SVG 5-1. Look, I think I'm all in on SVG right now. The offseason, I kind of went back and forth on it. I kind of thought about it. Wasn't sure, but now coming into this week, I'm sold. He's the favorite. He's 5-1. He's the top of the board. But you made the points last week with Busch in the trucks, with Hill and Xfinity. Look, if they're just the best driver out there, they're in the best equipment, they can control things. Look what happened. We've seen it with SVG, right? He comes into Chicago, looks like a god, wins in a Trackhouse car, by the way, does really well. Colleague last year, there were some struggles. Well, colleague is colleague, Rod, and we've learned that, unfortunately, betting on AJ Allmendinger time and time again, right? It's not always great. Now, look at him. Watkins Glen, he almost wins that race. Sure gets him a mistake you're not really going to see from SVG. We saw it in Xfinity last year. He dominated on those road courses, got all those wins. Here at COTA, I believe it was here at COTA, where him and Larson just back and forth, trading blows in Xfinity, getting to the end. SVG ended up getting penalized, ended up with like a 23rd place finish or something to his credit, but really was right there, about to win. I made the point earlier against Zilich, but SVG is seasoned. He's ready for this. Now he's got a full season of Xfinity under his belt. He's running in the Cup Series full-time this year. He's going to be good. He's going to show up. I think that he could just school the field this weekend. He's going to be at the front. I think he's going to win this race. So give me him a 5-1. Kyle Larson 10-1 is criminal. He should not be 10-1 on a road course. What are we doing, Rod? This guy won 2 road courses last year. We're giving him 10-1. Go get this earlier rather than later. Larson will not be 10-1 when it comes to Sunday, unless he qualifies really, really bad, in which case maybe you get more of him if he's at a bigger number. But Kyle Larson at 10-1 should not be this big of a number. So I think you've got to get in on him as well. The results haven't necessarily always been here at COTA. New circus. I guess you can call it a circus.
It is a new circus.
New circus this year, or circuit, whichever way you want to call it. And it's Kyle Larson. Saw him win here in the Xfinity Series last year. And who is running? Somebody's running the Hendrick car this weekend. It might be Larson too. Either way, like Larson, 10-1. And then for a longer shot, of course, I got the Busher in the car lift there at 25-1. But give me Alex Bowman as well, 20-1. I was hoping for a little bit of a bigger number. Maybe if you wait it out through qualifying, number gets a little bigger. But we talked about him. Third is his average finish at this track. How can you not have him on your outright sheet? He won Chicago last year. While, again, it's not a road course, it shows he's capable of doing it. He pops up at the most random times and wins races. This wouldn't be that random. He's been really good here. 20-1, I think it's too big of a number to pass up on him. So SVG 5-1, Larson 10-1, Bowman 20-1. And then, of course, Busher is part of the car lift at 25-1.
What's tough is that this particular track, obviously, we've only done this 4 times and there's been 4 different winners. So it's not like you can sit there and lock into like, okay, well, this guy's dominated the wins. No, you got Chase.
Hey, Rod, has SVG won here yet?
No, he has not. So there you go.
So maybe we're going 5 for 5, huh?
Maybe we are. And Larson and Bowman too. I mean, neither one of them have won here either. So although I will say that my guy is the only one that has won here that I think could repeat, and that is Ross Chastain. We talked about him a little earlier. And honestly, here's the deal, right? So all that argument that I made for Ross Chastain earlier, yeah, he's won one and he finished 4th in a couple of the other ones. But here's the thing about Ross Chastain. He's 16-1. He's won this race already, and he's 16-1 over on FanDuel. He's as low as 12-1 over on Caesars. You're getting 400 more points on FanDuel right now if you jump in and grab Ross Chastain right now. So to me, again, this is a matter of if we are very, very high on SVG, and we know that Ross Chastain's already won this one in Trackhouse equipment, then why can't we give that? I mean, I'm staying away from Zilich, obviously. Shouldn't be anywhere near where he's at right now. Daniel Suarez, you talked about Daniel Suarez and wanting to fit him in, but like Daniel Suarez on this track in particular, it's been no bueno.
It's been skewed, though. He dominated this race a couple years ago. Then he had a power steering issue. It's better than the numbers look.
Yeah, but we make this argument for people all the time, and this is where the biases set in, right? We're like, okay, but we like Daniel Suarez, so we can't really say.
Come on, Rod. You know I'm not biased to Daniel Suarez.
No. Oh well, no, I'm not trying to set you up for. All right, everybody, stop the clips. No, but I'm saying like, oh yeah, that's true. You don't like him all that much either. But here's the thing: you look at it. It's 33rd, 24th, 27th, 34th. Yeah, if it was once or twice, maybe you could chalk it up to a bad pattern. But like when it's that many bad finishes in a row, that leads me to believe that there's something going on there. So, yeah. So for the very opposite reason that you're not taking Daniel Suarez on this track, I would definitely take Ross Chastain. And at 16-1 for the guy that's done it before, for a guy that's got a teammate that's going to be running up front, I definitely like the 16-1. So give me Ross Chastain to win this at 16-1.
Yeah, no arguments there. I think Trackhouse is going to be a very good team this week, and it's not the 40-1 that we hit a couple of years ago, but you're still getting a pretty good number for one of the guys who's won here in this generation of car already. Yeah, I don't hate it for sure.
Indeed. Yeah. And listen, we don't let the books write the narratives for us. We actually know what we're talking about, because I know a lot of times you let the books lead you in a direction, but we make our decisions first and then we consult the books. And if they're right where we want them to be, then we'll do it. So, right. All right, get out your pen and paper. We are about to go over our bets for this EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix. I am going to give you my picks first, and then we'll follow it up with Cody's. Remember, we're doing 2 different cards now to let Cody have the freedom. We had to give Cody another acre. He was basically encroaching on territory, so we had to just give him his own pasture.
This is the Gulf of CZ now, Rod.
It is the Gulf of CZ. Right? I can see it right there on the end of the and
not Connor Zilich, by the way.
Yeah, no. All right. I started you out with William Byron to win the poll at plus 750. I also gave you Elliott over Allmendinger at minus 120. I'm giving you Bowman top 5 at plus 280 and top 3 at plus 650. I'm saying that there will be less than 7.5 drivers to lead a lap in this race at minus 115. Then I'm giving you the team triple. That is the Trackhouse triple at 20-1. SVG to win. Ross Chastain inside the top 5 and Connor Zilic inside of the top 10. And then I'm just going to go ahead and toss out Ross Chastain as an outright at 16-1 as well. Cody gave you Larson over Zilic and also SVG over Zilic. Larson at minus 130 over Zilic. SVG at minus 145 over Zilic. He also tossed in a Zane Smith top 10 bet at 6-1. He gave you Alex Bowman as a top 10 car at plus 120 and Chase Elliott as a top 5 car at plus 180. He also gave you Todd Gilliland as the top Ford at 16-1. Then Bowman and Buescher to be both inside of the top 10 at plus 360. Now he's riding the Buescher car lift presented by Your Name Here. Top 10 at plus 130. Top Ford at 2-1. And to win Group C at plus 310 over Zilic, Gibbs, and Dinger. A top 5 car at plus 340. And to win at 25-1. And speaking to win, he's giving you SVG at 5-1, Larson at 10-1, Bowman at 20-1 to win the EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix.
You know, TK making a good point here too. Ross gets advice from SVG. They work together at Watkins Glen. Look at that driver room that they've got with these 4 guys they're going to have in the Cup Series this week. You've got SVG, worldwide experience, right? Oh, I forgot to mention when I was talking about him, he's the only driver in this field that's actually run this particular course, the national course, before. He's actually raced that. So another thing that goes in his advantage there. You've got Ross Chastain, who's won here before. You've got Daniel Suarez, who's won at Sonoma before. You've got Connor Zilic, who won his first career Xfinity Series start on a road course last year. Like, what a fucking driver room they've got over at Trackhouse when it comes to road courses this season.
Hey, NASCAR keeps adding them on, so you might as well get the best ones you can possibly get when you're out there. So, yep, definitely love it. It'll be fun to watch Trackhouse roll around, and much success to them. Corey, wishing everybody much success. We wish you guys much success as well. All right, well then, Cody, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll talk Xfinity. Are the odds coming out yet?
Yeah, I guess outrights are out at least. So hopefully, I would imagine we'll have full slate of Xfinity. Usually trucks is what could hold us back a day, but no trucks this week. So full Xfinity show tomorrow, which I'm pretty pumped about. If you guys are interested in IndyCar betting, which you should be, we've got a video up over on our YouTube page. If you just go over to our videos, it's a less that we did. We did it, Rod. Less than 10 minutes this time. We gave our picks for this weekend's race at St. Petersburg. We also have an IndyCar fantasy league, $10 to enter. That's pinned at the top of my X page at Husker_Zeeb, pinned at the top of the show's X page at NASCAR Gambling. So yeah, check that out. It's the grid rival game, which incorporates salaries and contracts, and it's actually fairly exciting. So I'm pretty excited for that this year. So make sure you check all that stuff out. Back tomorrow with the Xfinity Series picks, Rod. We'll wrap it up on Thursday with DFS Underdog Talk. I'm excited for some left and rights this week. Let's go.
I am too. I'm very excited to watch something other than super speedway racing because at least I know that we're going to get at least a good level of calm for a little bit. So a nice stroll through a gigantic Texas track. But all right. Well then, Cody, as we let everybody out to go place their bets, remind everyone where they can find you outside in the world.
Yep. Follow me on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff over there. Make sure you hit the subscribe on the YouTube. Click that bell if you want to be. We had a ton of people in the chat today for the live show, which is always great. People interacting and exchanging bets back and forth, which is great. Love to see it. See you guys tomorrow.
Indeed. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the about everything I got going on, whether it's here. Check out the back road tomorrow night. I'm going to be with Seth and Elliot chopping it up, talking about Coda. And get in the Discord too, because there's been a lot of great conversation in the Discord. That thing never sleeps, and you won't either. So, all right. Love you all. We will see you tomorrow for some Xfinity racing. And until then, let's go racing and let it ride.